First of all, I had to do some market research, if you want. So I had to ask other coaches who were open to share with me, like, what do they charge? I looked at their experience, what credentials they have. I asked around. I saw companies that hire coaches as third parties, how much they offer them as well, and how much do they charge, etc. So I had to do a little bit of market understanding to see what is the average cost for a coaching session. But at the same time, I didn't want to be on the average because I believe my credentials are quite high. My experience is vast. So I kind of decided, where do I want to be, in that average, or do I want to be above the average?
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets, the podcast where we talk with successful career coaches on how they built their success and the hard lessons they learned along the way. My name is Davis Nguyen, and I'm the founder of Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, and even $100,000 weeks. Before Purple Circle, I've grown several 7- and 8-figure career coaching businesses myself, and have been a consultant at 2 career coaching businesses that are doing over $100 million each. Whether you're an established coach or building your practice for the first time, you'll discover the secrets to elevating your coaching business.
Welcome to Career Coaching Secrets Podcast. I'm Pedro, and today's guest is Nadine Zeinoun, an executive coach whose work is shaped by lived experience, resilience, and a deep understanding of human emotion. Growing up in war-torn Lebanon sparked her lifelong focus on empathy, conflict resolution, and helping people build trust in the most challenging environments. Today, she works with leaders who feel pressure, disconnection, or the weight of micromanagement, helping them become emotionally self-aware, confident, and effective. Her coaching supports leaders in building autonomous, engaged teams and creating workplaces where trust, initiative, and collaboration can thrive. Welcome to the show, Nadine.
Thank you, Pedro. It's great to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited that you're here. Okay, and before we get into what you do now, I'm curious how this all actually started, right? What was going on in your life when coaching became more than just an idea?
Well, honestly, everyone asks me this question, but it wasn't like something happened and then I became a coach. It's not like that. In my life, at least, it was a gradual shift in career. So I'm originally a pharmacologist. So I have a master's in pharmacology and therapeutics, and I used to work in the pharmaceutical industry. So I was a leader myself for a long period of time. And then I left for personal reasons. And then I started my own business, which was actually catering to the consulting to the pharmaceutical industry. But slowly I started being asked to train people because I used to train people in my old job. So I discovered how much I love helping people develop. So that was like the first thing. And then I fell upon emotional intelligence, which was really a very coincidence. It was a coincidence, not planned at all. And so I got certified on that and I fell in love with the topic. So I felt like emotional intelligence really reflected my values, my faith. I'm a woman of faith. So I felt there was very good synergy between that. So I said, okay, I want to help people develop their emotional intelligence. And that's when, I said, okay, what do I need more? Okay, I can train, I can give assessments, but I'm not yet changing people really, because change doesn't only come from learning the information. You really have to go into a journey deep within and understand what is stopping you from actually using these skills and gaining these skills and addressing that. So that's when I fell upon coaching. So it was all a coincidence. I just followed the path, if you want, that led me down this road. And when I discovered coaching, oh my God. So yeah, my world turned upside down and I felt like, okay, this is what I want to do. This is my mission. This is my purpose. This is what I was created to do. And here I am, 13, 14 years later, very happy and proud to be where I am.
Interesting. I like how organic that sounds, right? How natural and organic. When we were talking about in the pre-interview process, or even today before we started a podcast, something I think I need to highlight is the fact that you came from Lebanon, right? So you made a big leap, a big shift, changing from moving from Lebanon to Canada. And we're talking about coaching.
Yes.
We are usually talking about transformational change, right? We're talking about overcoming hardship. So how was that for you, coming from a different culture itself and establishing right now in Canada? I want to hear a bit about that.
Yeah, big transformation, I must say. Yeah, so yeah, it was a tough decision. It's not easy moving leaving your life, leaving everything in that was there in your past, like your social network, your work. So I had a very good business in Lebanon. So I left that. I left my community. I left my friends, my parents, so also my family, and I moved here with my husband and my three kids. And my three kids were like teenagers at the time, so it was difficult. It was a difficult shift because we came into a space where we know no one, and social interaction and socializing is very important for us in Lebanon. So I stepped into a space where we had no social connections whatsoever. We knew no one. We didn't know the culture. We didn't know how people would respond to us, etc. So it was a big change, honestly. It took a toll on us, especially my kids, and supporting them, being there for them, and then working out, starting my own business, developing myself here in terms of people don't know me, so allowing people to know me, creating credibility, etc. So it was quite tough and very challenging, I must say. But we learned a lot, we grew a lot, and I believe it was, I love it now. I'm very happy that we made this move, and I'm very excited about the work here in Canada and North America in general, not just Canada. What turned out to be a not so pleasant start is really turning out to be a great place to be.
That's interesting. And on the coaching side, and I'm not sure if that, and maybe this is a two-way street there and we're going to talk about, because I want to understand what point did it stop feeling like a side thing, in the coaching or calling, and it start feeling like an actual business you were responsible for. And the reason I ask this is because when we see coaches and they're trying to help everyone, right? And sometimes they go through trial and error to understand who they can actually help the most,
Yeah.
right? So how that play out for you? If it changed when you came from Lebanon to Canada, did anything like that you thought, hey, maybe my ICP is different here, that type of thing?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because it is a challenge for coaches, because we enter into coaching, we want to help. We forget that it's a business as well. So I think the shift was when I saw that, at the start I was doing still consulting and coaching, but when I decided that no, I'm going to be only doing coaching, or coaching and training together, but around, there has to be an element of coaching. Training alone is not enough. There has to be an element of coaching in it. So when I decided to make that shift, it was difficult because, finding training clients is much easier than finding coaching clients, especially when I was back in the Middle East at that time. Okay, before COVID, it was difficult because people didn't know what coaching was. So I had to start by settling for training and then growing their awareness about coaching and then trying to convince them to become coached. When I moved here and post-COVID, things changed. People started asking for coaching. So the market grew. The awareness about coaching grew. I'm talking about the Middle East. But when I came here to Canada, I saw that it was a very mature market. People knew what coaching was. People were seeking coaching. People want to develop themselves. So it was an amazing market for me to enter because there was a lot of, the reception, or I don't know what you call it, receptivity or something. So there's high receptivity to coaching. Now, for me to shift into the business mindset, it took a lot. So it took a lot because it's difficult for coaches to feel like they're thinking of the money and not the impact. It's difficult for coaches when you tell them business, they think, oh my God, I have to sell. I have to sell myself. I have to sell my product. I have to sell my service. And this is difficult for many coaches. And I teach coaching. So I have a lot of students, and I see it in my students as well as my colleagues. And I'm the chapter leader of ICF Ottawa. ICF Ottawa, ICF is International Coaching Federation. So I'm the chapter leader here in Ottawa, and I used to be the chapter leader in Lebanon. So I know how coaches think and feel and what they go through. And I've been there too. So it's always difficult to change our mindset around, my God, I have to sell myself. I have to sell my service. So I think the first thing that I had to do is to change that wording and perception. I'm not selling my business. I'm trying to impact more people. And if trying to impact more people means, having negotiations and having discussions, then I'm ready to do it because I'm now impacting this many. I want to impact this many people. So shifting your focus from I'm selling to
Hmm.
I'm trying to add more value to more people made me feel more comfortable with it, at least.
Yeah, I mean, means to an end, right? The financial component is there. We cannot ignore it.
Of
But in
course.
order to impact more people, it's like you said, you kind of need it because you're gonna eventually need to hire or scale the business. You're gonna need, the financial component, obviously. So, you know, once you were out there helping people, right? Who did you naturally ended up attracting? When did you realize, yeah, this is my tribe?
Yeah. It took time because at the start, I was coaching anyone who wanted to be coached. So life coaching, leadership coaching, some executive coaching. But as I gained more and more traction, I started noticing, and I did this intentionally. So it has to happen intentionally. So you have to sit with yourself and reflect, okay, where am I getting like the most satisfaction, the most fulfillment with which type of clients? And I found that with corporate clients, I feel like really challenged. They're more difficult, they're tougher, they don't accept things easily, different from people coming for life coaching. They're so open. With corporate clients, it's the company that actually hired me. So sometimes people are resistant, they don't want to be
Mm,
coached. So I found that challenging and I loved the challenge there. So that brought me a lot of fulfillment. So I felt like this is the space where I want to be. But again, it comes with intentional reflection and really noticing where do you get more. I mean, they're all fulfilling, but there's a space where you find yourself like you are you and you're really in flow
mm,
and you really enjoy this and you can do this forever. That's the niche that I started developing. So I started thinking, okay, I need to do this more with corporate clients. So I started reducing the number of life coaching clients and increasing, the corporate reach and executives and leaders. That I started going there, but then I started thinking, okay, so, executives are it's broad also. So do you want to serve all executives? That's not really a niche. It's a very broad niche. So what am I helping them with? And what is it that I'm passionate about helping them with? Because you can help an executive, I don't know, like get promoted, or you can help an executive with their team. You can help an executive, I don't know, different, there are
mhm.
different reasons why executives need help. My passion lies in creating harmony. So I like to support leaders who are in a space where there's change, perhaps there's uncertainty, and they're not feeling okay about that, neither with themselves, and they're not knowing how to deal with this with the team. So how to align the team. So I found that those are the clients I attract, and those are the places where I thrive, and I love to help them create that understanding, get out of myself. First of all, understand myself, but then get out of myself and understand others and see how to connect better with others and how to align others and how my behaviors are actually impacting the response of others, and that I do have some type of control over behaviors of others to a limited extent, of course. So that is where I find a lot of joy. So that's where I dedicated. So it's not any executive, it's an executive who is either going through a personal change themselves or going through a change with their team and their organization. I help them get clear on what is this change and what does it mean to them first, how to align themselves, and then how to transfer this alignment to the team and keep the team feeling happy and engaged despite the change.
Interesting. Okay. Now, let's zoom out for a second. If someone ends up working with you today,
Mhm.
how do they usually find their way to you in the first place?
Great question. Well, I reach out to them. So I reach out to people on LinkedIn. So I connect with people on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is like my main source of connections and networking. So it starts by connecting, networking, and then, things develop into, perhaps a free coaching session, or maybe they attend an event of mine. I invite them to an event and, so they get to know me, get to know what I do, get to know, and I also understand them, what they need, whether we're a good fit together. And, some people would end up becoming my clients. Some people will not. There's not a good fit and it doesn't happen. So, as a coach, if you want to thrive, you have to accept that there will be people who will not choose you and you can't take that personal. So that's a very important thing that I learned along my way, along the way.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I mean, let's talk about mechanics behind the scenes for a moment.
Hmm.
Let's say when someone decides to work with you, you reached out through LinkedIn, they joined an event you were hosting, you name it. So, what does that actually look like from their perspective?
What do you mean? Can you explain that a little bit
Well,
more?
let's say Pedro, me, I talk with you on LinkedIn, I join an event, right? And I'm like, hey Nadine, I want to work with you.
Okay.
How does that look like?
Okay. So you mean how do I work with them? So,
Well, the structure,
yeah,
right?
the
I'm not sure
structure.
if we're
Yeah.
talking about if you do
I
one-on-ones,
do
group coaching,
one-on-ones.
if you have an online component, just to understand the onboarding
Yeah.
process and how your
Yeah.
work.
Yeah. So I do one-on-ones currently, and I will be going into group soon. So I do
Mhm.
one-on-ones, and it's usually at least a 6-month commitment. So let's say the coaching program, it's a mixture of some assessments that we do at the start to help them better gain more awareness about themselves, their blind spots, their values. So there are 2 to 3 assessments that I like to do at the start. And then after that, we clarify, the mission of this person and where they're heading and what they want and who they want to be. So what's the legacy they want to leave behind? And after that, we start individual coaching. They're all individual, but we start coaching because an assessment is not really coaching. You're just showing them, you're
Mhm.
debriefing them, etc. But it's not coaching. So we start the coaching after we finish these. That's the onboarding process. We do that. And then after that, we set the objectives of what do they want to achieve specifically by the end of the 6 months. And we start working on that, one session after the other until we achieve that. And many times, their objectives change. So they say they want something, but as they gain more understanding of themselves and their situation, they sometimes shift gear and they go to a different objective. And that's totally fine. I mean, it's a flexible process.
Okay. I mean, your work seems pretty involved, right?
Yeah.
We're talking about one-on-ones. We're talking
Yes.
about possibly a customized experience,
Yes.
the outreach, the events you host. So, how do you think about managing your time and energy so the business doesn't start owning you, for example?
Yeah, that's a very good point. That's why I want to go into group. I want to start the possibility of group coaching. So where, we have like monthly group sessions or weekly group sessions, depending on what it is that they want. So there will be options. And that way I can impact the whole group in the same session. So it will be less time consuming for me. I will still have the option of individual for those who want, but at least I will start channeling people into the group setting rather than the one-to-one. Because as I said, if my focus is to impact more people, if I'm only going to do individual, then I have a limited capability of doing that. So, and as you said, I don't want it to rule my time. I want to be in control of my time.
Right. And one thing that I want to highlight here is because I'm also a career coach, right,
Hmm.
in Brazil, and I think we talked about that
Yeah.
previously. But I want to understand from your perspective, right? You're coming from Lebanon, right, and you're moving to Canada. So I think the pricing factor. I'm not talking about hard numbers, but just that that adjust you had to make an adjustment to move from one currency to the other, right? So how do you approach that now? And what did you have to learn? I mean, the hard way to get where you are right now?
Now, first of all, I had to do some market research if you want. So I had to ask other coaches who were open to share with me, like, what do they
Mm,
charge? I looked at their experience, what credentials they have. I asked around. I saw companies that hire coaches as third parties, how much they offer them as well, and how much do they charge, etc. So I had to do a little bit of market understanding to see what is the average cost of for a coaching
hmm
session. But at the same time, I didn't want to be on the average because I believe, my credentials are quite high. My experience is vast.
hmm
So I kind of decided, where do I want to be? Do I want to be in that, average, or do I want to be above the average? And then I made that decision to be, priced above the average based on the value that I believe I give to people. So I think it's a decision that a coach has to make. And
hmm
this is a tough decision because many coaches are afraid to lose business if they charge a little bit more than the market or than others. And if we get into a numbers game, like 500 versus, oh, they charge 250, or, oh, they charge 700. You'll never win. I mean, you really need to focus on adding value to that person and focusing on that value that you're giving them and what that value means to them and costs, because there's a cost for the transformation that you're causing. So, what would they pay for this transformation? Because you're not selling one session, you're selling a program, you're selling a whole transformation. So what is a program? It's when they come in, they're going to leave having made that change that they want. So you're charging for the change, not for the session. If you get into the session pattern, it's going to be difficult because they're going to say, that person gives 250, okay, go work with them if you want. But if you want this transformation over a period of 6 months, this is what I charge, and I've never, I never really faced anyone saying, no, I don't want to pay you that much. Sometimes people can't afford it, which is fine. But, and I do have other options that are, perhaps online programs and I'm creating more. So I am trying to create another option for those who can't afford it, but really want to make that change. So I'm trying to create another option for them so that, really people who are enthusiastic about transforming themselves, I don't like seeing them not having an option. And, if they want to do it through me or using my methodology. So I want to be able to give them, and this is my challenge for 2026, give them other options so that, they won't just say, oh, drop it and just not change or not do anything.
Yeah, I really like that because we see a lot of coaches second guessing themselves, and you're coming from a completely different market, so much uncertainty. And at the same time, you're like, no, I know what I do. I know who I am. I'm going to charge X, Y, and Z, and I'm going to roll with it. And yeah, that's very, very interesting.
And mind you, Pedro, I don't want people to feel like, oh, this was a one-time change. No. This was a process. I didn't get here, with one decision. I had to go through a process myself because getting rid of the fear, when you come from an uncertainty space, there's fear. In Lebanon, there's a scarcity mindset. Because we have been in war all our lives, we have been in financial crises, we have been in so many things. So, and I guess you understand me. So when you grow up in such an environment, you grow up on fear, uncertainty, limited opportunities, scarcity. So scarcity becomes really part of your brain and mindset. And when you approach coaching with a scarcity mindset, you're always afraid to lose clients and you start lowering your cost and your price and your value just to keep that client so that they don't run away. But that hurts you. So you need to make a shift into abundance. How coming from a place of uncertainty and, meeting the charges or the cost of coaching here, I was telling you that this wasn't like one step leap. It's not like I came from a place where I charged $100 per session and just immediately jumped into charging $600 or $500 or $700 in one go. It wasn't like that. I had to struggle to get here. And so I only want those who are listening to know that it's okay if they're struggling, but they can still get there. Okay. It's not like it's a one-time thing and, oh, it's so easy. No, it's not. I mean, it's a mindset and you really have to battle that mindset. Cause like when you grow up in a space where I was in Lebanon, where there's a scarcity mindset. So, as I said, we had financial issues, we had war, people were struggling to find a job. So we were brought up feeling and believing that opportunities are scarce. So you need to grab on to whatever you find. Okay. And this hurts if you have that mindset. It hurts your pricing in coaching because it starts making you afraid because you feel like there's limited clients out there. You want to just grab any clients. So even if they they tell you to lower your cost, you would do it just to keep them because, it's scarce to find the client, but it's not. So I think the major shift coaches need to go through is going from that scarcity mindset into abundance mindset. There are many clients out there, many people looking for coaches, many people who need coaches, and many people who want that transformation. It's just about finding that right fit in terms of people and in terms of, cost. So those who really value what you give and are ready to pay the value that you give to them, to invest in that value. So don't be afraid. Don't feel like it's the end of the world. If I say no to this person, I'm not going to get another opportunity. You will, because life is abundant and there's an abundance of clients out there.
I really like that. It almost works like a mirror, right? And you are coaching, but at the same time, you need your own coach. You need to face your own obstacles, your own blockers. So that makes perfect sense.
Exactly.
Yeah. And looking forward a bit, Nadine, what's the direction you're aiming this business towards? I mean, are you thinking more about growth, leverage, building a team, or refining what already works? I mean, what feels most exciting right now?
Now my focus is how to scale. So how can I get myself a little bit out in terms of the time commitment and yet keep the same value for my clients and support their transformation as I am supporting it now. So finding that balance and finding options for those who cannot afford maybe the full coaching program. Maybe there are other options so that I can support more people out there. So the focus is supporting more people without getting burnt out and creating a team that can support me through that.
Okay. And even when things are going well, there's always something under construction.
Yep.
Right. I mean, what's the main thing you're actively working on or trying to improve in the business right now?
At the moment, I'm working a lot on social media. So I'm working a lot on trying to impact more people through social media. And at the same time, I'm focusing on more speaking gigs. Because when you speak to a big audience. So you impact a bigger number of people rather than just the one-on-one individual. Of course, it's not the same change and it's not the same transformation, but some people need that inspiration that you give in an hour or half an hour or maybe 20 minutes sometimes. People need that inspiration. This year, I'm focusing on that. I'm focusing on enhancing my social media and my impact through there, and also focusing on getting more speaking gigs and becoming known as a speaker here in North America.
Okay. Interesting. I mean, you've been around long enough to see trends come and go, right, Nadine? So people give business advice nonstop, especially online. So what's something you hear repeated a lot that you think people misunderstand or overvalue?
That's an interesting question. I have many, but I think what gets to me is something that is common to all of them, perhaps. I get triggered when people give advice like this is the golden rule. Okay. And nothing can exist except if this golden rule is met. Okay. So what do I mean by that? I mean that, yes, it is a good rule, let's say, or something that helps us. However, not everyone out there is able to do that thing. And I think it's more about people finding how they can do something that best serves them that is close to this. So I'll give you an example, a silly example. Like, so many people who say, if you want to be a great executive, a good business owner, an amazing leader, you need to wake up at 5 a.m. in the morning. So, and you need to wake up and do these things at 5 a.m. in the morning. Now, I am a morning person and I totally agree with that for me. That works for me so well. If I don't get up at 5 or 5:30 and have my morning ritual, my day is really bad and so unproductive and I'm not happy and I'm not fulfilled. However, not everyone works like that. People have different clocks, Some people work better at night rather than in the morning. So when you make this an absolute truth, people who can't meet that truth feel bad about themselves. And they always feel like, oh my God, I'm not going to be a good business owner because I can't wake up at 5. And that is something that really bugs me because yes, these are great ways of approaching leadership, but they're not the only ways. And you need to find your way and what works for you. So you may wake up at 11 and have an amazing business because you work a lot at night, whereas I can't. Honestly, I can't work at night. So people have different rhythms. It's about finding your rhythm. Okay, take these, business rules, whatever you want to call the tips, tools. Yes, take them, but always think which of these suits you? Which of
Mm-hmm.
these looks like you? Which of these you feel comfortable doing, and go by that.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, social media is full with the magic bullets, the
Yeah.
secret sauce, right? So yeah, 100%. And like it would work for everyone, which in reality, it's really not like that. So,
Yeah,
and
and
on
I'm
the
not
flip,
understanding these, please. Yeah, don't
no,
misunderstand.
obviously,
I'm not undermining these. I just want people to not be taken away by all these tips and feeling overwhelmed, because at the end, when you feel overwhelmed, you're not going to do anything. You're just going to stay where you are.
yeah, true. Even in the educational system, sometimes people just don't fit, right? They
Yeah,
don't go well in exams and all of that. But down the line, sometimes they're great business owners. They're great artists. So it really depends, right?
exactly.
People don't
Exactly.
fit. You cannot fit everyone in the same box. People are just that different. So yeah.
Exactly.
And on the flip side, like what's something boring or not as hyped that you wish more people actually paid attention to?
Something boring?
That people not as hyped, you think, hey, people should pay more attention to do X, Y, and Z, especially maybe in the coaching business, and I would say one thing that I feel sometimes is that, and that you mentioned, is the outreach. I talk with coaches that they feel, I'm not sure if I should be doing that.
Yeah.
They're judgmental about, the approach,
Yeah.
or should they,
Salesy.
this is it's just an example. I'm not sure what do you think, but I've seen people like struggling with that.
Actually, I agree with you. I think now that we're talking about coaches. So the thing they need to pay more attention to is, don't just wait for clients to come. You need to be active in looking for clients, in finding clients. Now, this is a big step outside our comfort zone as coaches. And we think, we're going to be bad people or salesy or I don't know what. But really, this mindset, having the shift in this mindset and accepting that you reaching out to clients is not a bad thing. And it doesn't mean you're out to get them and manipulate them or sell them something they don't need. Not at all. You can have your own way. Again, back to you having your own way of selling. So
Hmm.
your own way is not that. You want to give free stuff, give value, add value,
Hmm.
reach out to people to give them value, but at least reach out to people to get to know you and know what value you give them, and give them a chance to experience your coaching, and then have a discussion about where this would go and where to get. So start by adding value and focus on that, but do it, and do it
Mm.
proactively. Don't wait for people to refer others to you. Don't wait for, because I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad idea. Referrals are great. They're very hot leads, but they're not going to happen every day, especially if you don't actively seek referrals. So don't wait and just hope that things will get better. You take action and put an intention for you to decide where your business is going, not your
Mm.
business to lead you or the circumstances to lead your business. You be an active player in determining where your business is going to go.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And before we close this out, if someone resonated with what you shared and wants to follow your work, where should they go?
Well, they can go, LinkedIn is like the easiest place. So it's just my name that's here on the screen. So they can just connect with me on LinkedIn. They can go to my website, which is also myname.com. So nadinezeinoun.com. Very easy. Or they can go to other social media where it's Coach Nadine Zeinoun. So YouTube, LinkedIn, Facebook, TikTok, Coach Nadine Zeinoun. It's Coach Nadine Zeinoun over there.
Okay. There were a few moments from this conversation that really stood out to me. I would say first, the gradual shift from pharmaceutical career, to coaching. And telling me that there was not like an aha moment. It was just organic, and how natural that process felt. I really like that, because as much as we love milestones, it's about the journey, right? It's not about the milestone itself. It's like everyday journey, and every day that you can impact people and how you are changed over the process. So I really like that. Also, how much skin you have in the game, right? Changing from moving from, Lebanon to Canada, and then you had to, price structure is different now. And so everything that you preach, you actually practice and been there, done that. I really like that. I would emphasize that. And also, once again, skin in the game, find your passion, right? That you told me about the executives, because we see a lot of coaches preaching that, hey, you need to find your passion. You need to find the thing that clicks with you and all of that. But at the same time, you did just that. You went through it and you're like, you know what, this resonates more with me, the executives and leading teams and all of that. And I really like that. I commend you on that. And I really appreciate you taking the time and being so open with this. It was great having you on, Nadine.
Thank you, Pedro.
That's it for this episode of Career Coaching Secrets. If you enjoyed this conversation, you can subscribe on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you're listening to this episode to catch future episodes. This podcast was brought to you by Purple Circle, where we help career coaches scale their business to $100,000 years, $100,000 months, or even $100,000 weeks, all without burning out and making sure that you're making the impact and having the life that you want. To learn more about our community and how we can help you, visit joinpurplecircle.com.